Hello there and welcome to Face Off. I am Neota Egbe. Now, this is that platform where we almost always, get to see the two sides of every issue as it pertains to policy, governance, and general living in Nigeria. Welcome. Today we'll look at something that bothers not just the young, but the young at heart and even the old at heart as well. We're looking at the social media. In January 2012, the social media played a major role in the protests that led to the downward review of the fuel price from over 100 naira to 97 naira per litre. Now, after that, many came up with the notion that the social media was the voice of the masses, and indeed, many could speak. You could take a picture and post it on Facebook from wherever you are. You could tweet whatever it is you wanted to tweet about. You could reach as many as you wanted to reach. By just one simple sentence, you could say so much to so many people. But how effective has this been? Has it been positively effective or negatively effective? The Arab Spring began with someone posting something out on Facebook using a telephone. But beyond these positives that have brought about changes around the world, there have been some negatives. Back here in Nigeria, the issue of the young lady that was killed by a group of people she met or by friends she met on Facebook, people she never knew. She just jumped up and came to visit them all the way across the country. After that, other issues in Nigeria, for instance, protests around the world concerning a movie that was posted on YouTube. Then, insult. According to the Senate president, the leadership in Nigeria being abused on Facebook uncontrollably. Would you say indeed that there ought to be some restriction on social media in Nigeria and indeed around the world? Would it help in any way? Would it stifle the voice of the masses if there is some restriction? Or would it be just a way of letting the people know that when you go onto social media, it should be for something positive? Well, these are some of the questions we hope that will be answered today. And I have two gentlemen in the studio who happen to be strikers, let me use the word. Let me borrow from Tony Bitoye. Strikers on the field of the social media. On my left is Tolu Ogunlesi, a journalist and IT specialist. Welcome.
Good evening.
And did I say on my right? On my left, rather. Okay. And on my right, I have Benga Chesson, an IT specialist. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Gentlemen, on Face Off, usually you have the opportunity to give your opening statement for 30 seconds. So you would start that now, and I'll begin with you. You are saying there shouldn't be any form of restriction on social media, and he insists there should be. So you give your opening statement first.
Okay, so
30 seconds.
Social media is the new platform where people can express themselves. Okay, there's a reason why all the nations of the world agreed that it's a fundamental human right for people to be able to express themselves, regardless of platform. Either I speak the word, or I write the word, or I express it via any channel. But guess what? It's a fundamental human right for me to express myself, and there should be no restriction whatsoever.
Okay. Tolu?
My argument is this. Social media is an extension of human society. Human society does not exist without regulations, without guidance. So I don't see why social media, which is simply an extension of human society, should exist without some form of guidance or regulation.
All right, thank you very much. Well, gentlemen, we'll take a short break, and when we return, we'll continue with this discussion. Should there be some form of restriction on social media in Nigeria? You too can be a part of the discussion, indeed, on the social media restrictions. Join us on any of our handles on Twitter, at FaceOff Today, or at Neota Egbe. Send in your comments and let's know what you have to say about this. We'll be back. Don't go away. Okay, we're back and we're discussing restricting social media in Nigeria. And I have two gentlemen, players on that field, who are here to say, one says, don't do it. The other one says, go ahead and do it. So it's time for them to ask the questions and we'll hopefully get some answers. So Tolu, you ask the first question and Benga must answer.
Yes, Benga, your argument is that social media should not in any way absolutely be restricted.
Sure.
Do you agree with me that social media is a tool, maybe like a gun? I mean, it's not a gun, of course, but it's a tool. Yeah. So when we look at the examples of, for example, the gun debates in the U.S., I mean, guns guns, they will say guns don't kill people, people kill people. But guns are potentially harmful. Guns are also useful for self-defense. If we follow that analogy and said social media is a tool, and it's a tool that can be used, for good and for evil, on the basis of that, how do you argue that it should be left completely to the whims of individuals?
Okay, two things. One, water kills, but we need water. And nobody would say because there was some flooding in a particular area, or because, somebody drowned in water or whatever, because of that, nobody should have access to water. Same thing with money. I mean, we know money can be used for many terrible things, but people wake up every day trying to earn a living. Social media is a tool, yes.
But I'm sorry, I have to come in there.
Yes.
When you talk about why do we have water board regulating the usage of water?
I was going
why
to
do you have CBN
I was just waiting for Gbenga to
Okay,
land.
so speaking of water board regulating water, does the water board tell you you have to use X liters of water per day? They don't. You take as much as you want. If what you get is not enough, you go to get more. And the point I'm even coming to is the fact that yes, social media is like a tool. But the fact that it's a tool means that it gives everybody the right to use it the way they want. Now, it's the same thing. It's like speech. It's like speech. We have access to freedom of speech. Absolutely. It's the same thing.
But there are also libel laws. There are libel laws that guide what people say.
Libel laws also apply to social media. So if you feel
absolutely.
that someone has said something terrible, then take them to court. But to say that I shouldn't say something I want to say is getting into my private space, and I'll say shush.
Well, to be honest, I mean, I must make it clear. I don't think this is a debate about censorship. I should say that I am not myself one for censorship. But I am also not for, as I would explain, as I said in my opening statement, human beings, human society has guidelines, laws, regulations that guide what people do. I can get into my car, start the car, and go to VI, but there are lights that will stop me. There are guidelines that ensure that I do not act in a way that would injure or potentially injure other human beings. So how do we suddenly get into the social media space, Gbenga, and,
we now want to remove
jettison completely any idea of some form of regulation or guidance or penalties for misbehaviors?
There are penalties already.
Yeah.
So if I tweet something or I post a picture on Facebook, I can be sued. I can be taken to court for that. But what we're saying is when it comes to using social media, because the argument in Nigeria, by the way, for example, of course, it's all been denied. The Senate president, in quotes, said that social media should be banned. Of course, that was later denied. And the idea was it has become a platform for people to abuse government. And people are abusing government a lot. And and what I said at the time is very simple, that you haven't even seen all of the expressions that people want to give. Right now, the expressions that are being seen on social media are by the people who have access to some of the information. A very good example. Right now, people think that National Assembly members earn a certain amount of money. If the real amount of money being earned is revealed, the question would not be, should people say the things they want to say or abuse or not? The question would be, okay, even you may even begin to abuse yourself. So when it comes to social media, there are those green lights, the amber, the red,
but
and all
there's
that.
this notion that power without control means death. Because social media is, as you said, is power. It's the voice of the masses. It's power in the hands of the masses. But without control, it means death even to the masses.
It's the same thing with speech. So with speech, the control is from you as an individual. You know what the punishment is going to be.
Do you think Nigerians will control themselves when they are angry?
I belong to this. I have a theory that human stupidity is unlimited, in the sense that human beings will typically, have no limits to the kind of stupid things. And when I say human beings, including myself. So, for example, and we all, you're on BlackBerry Messenger, Gbenga. You get these messages all the time. So a few days ago, for example, I got a message saying that someone had been kidnapped. And so I got a message saying that, with an account number, saying that, we need to, the kidnappers have demanded a certain amount. We need to raise funds for this person. Send money to this account number. For me, that was absolutely unbelievable. Like, how did we get to this place? To think that you cannot. How do we stop people from pushing their stupidity? Pardon that, to the limits on social media. Okay. It doesn't have to be. I am telling people. I mean, I'm not saying that there should be a Twitter or a social media censorship board or anything. But how do we, whether it's by forms of penalties or whatever, how do we
he's talked about if you put some things that are not right, you could be sued to court. Is that the kind of restriction you're asking for? Is that the kind of regulation you're asking for? Are you asking for laws?
That's part of it. Laws are part of it. That's not all there is to it.
Tolu, the fact is technology in itself, I mean products of technology, in a way, have provisions for how to solve the problem you're talking about. So you don't want to see the stupidity from people on BBM. You don't want to see the folly of 140 characters on Twitter. You can mute so you don't listen to them. You can unfriend people. You can, or if you want to call it, defriend them. So social media is like, the connections on social media are like the human connections, the natural connections. You're connected to this person, who is connected to this person, who is connected to this person. But if someone suddenly within your circle is a criminal, it doesn't mean you're going to stop being friends with everyone that you know. But there's always a way in nature, how you cut people off. And it's the same thing with social media. So if I'm following you on Twitter, for example, and I see that, and I do this all the time. So I'm following you and you say things that I feel, this is not adding value to me. In fact, this is probably, taking me into a negative space or something like that. I can easily unfollow you.
But that's at the simpler end of the spectrum. That's about people saying things that you don't like. Now, when we are talking about people saying things like, for example, things that take the genocide in Rwanda, for example. Okay. This was long before the days of social media, But the media still played a part.
Sure.
People went on radio to say that, these people are enemies, they are cockroaches, kill them,
quick question,
cut them down.
Is there still radio on Rwanda today?
I assume there is.
Absolutely. And the reason is very simple, because radio, yes, has been used as a tool to call people cockroaches.
But there are restrictions. No, there are restrictions. It's like in Nigeria, there's restrictions. NBC tells you don't say this, you cannot say this.
The kind of things that you can and
say on radio. There is a form of regulation. I'm sure that's what Tolu is talking about.
Now, in terms of, so NBC says to you, you can't say this and you can't say that. But what NBC cannot say to you, for example, is, I go to a radio station and I have a personal opinion. NBC cannot say, I can't say what my personal opinion is. That's not possible.
Okay, let's move from this. This is potentially safe. Let's move. Now, let's use the example of the London riots.
Good.
About a year ago, August last year. Many of the messages that went out were actually planned. In fact, the bulk of them, there were lots on Facebook and Twitter, but a lot of them were on BlackBerry Messenger. Yes. People actually planning, saying, look, guys, this is the next hit. Let's gather at 7 p.m. and all that. At the end of it, what did the makers of BlackBerry Research in Motion do? They actually came out to say that they were going to hand over data to the UK government. Is that correct?
You're right. I'm listening.
Yeah? Now, on that, let's take that as an example. What do you think? Do you think, going by your argument, that shouldn't be possible?
That's absolutely wrong.
That's absolutely
wrong of the UK government to restrict communication. And I'll say two key things.
No, that's not what